In February 2008, Beyoncé walked onto the Grammy stage and took Tina Turner's hand. Tina was 68 years old. She had been retired for 8 years. She had not performed on American television in 3 years. What happened in the weeks after that performance, in the restaurants and restrooms and streets of Zurich, is the reason she came back for one final tour, and why she danced through every single one of 90 concerts at the age of 69. But to understand what that Grammy night meant, you have to understand what happened in the rehearsal room a few days before it. The producer who put the performance together was Ken Ehrlich. He had been producing the Grammy Awards for decades. He had seen performers arrive at rehearsal with their guards up, their teams around them, their public faces already in place. He had learned that the distance between what a performer was in a rehearsal room and what they were on stage was one of the most reliable things in the music industry. What he was not prepared for was Beyoncé. He said later that booking Tina Turner and Beyoncé together felt like a leap of faith. He figured neither of them would say no if he approached them separately. He was right. A few days before February 10, 2008, Beyoncé arrived at the rehearsal venue in Los Angeles. She had been told Tina Turner was already inside, in another room. Beyoncé was 26 years old. She was one of the most famous women in the world. She had sold hundreds of millions of records. She had performed in front of crowds that dwarfed anything most artists ever see. And when she was told that Tina Turner was in the next room, she skipped. Not walked, not strode, skipped. Like a 5-year-old who has just been told something unbelievable. Beyoncé's mother, Tina Knowles, was there that day. She described watching her daughter skip across the floor and throw her arms around Tina Turner like she was embracing an aunt she had known her whole life. She said it was one of the most moving things she had ever witnessed. Not because of who the two women were, but because of what the moment revealed about what Tina Turner had meant to the people who grew up listening to her. Beyoncé had 2 Tinas in her life, she had said publicly more than once. Her mother, Tina Knowles, and Tina Turner. In the rehearsal room, Beyoncé sat beside Tina at the piano. She told her directly what she meant to her. She said it felt like a dream to be in the same room. She said, "I never in my life saw a woman so powerful, so fearless, so fabulous." And then she said, "And those legs." Tina Turner laughed. It was the laugh of someone who has been seen clearly. Ken Ehrlich watched what unfolded over the following days of rehearsal with the careful attention of someone who understood he was witnessing something rare. He said that in the beginning, there was a lot of Beyoncé and not a lot of Tina. Tina was present, professional, fully prepared, but holding something back. Whether it was the caution of someone who had been away from the stage for several years, or simply the instinct of a performer taking the measure of a new situation, she was not yet fully there. And then something shifted. Beyoncé brought her out, not by stepping aside, not by diminishing herself to make room, but by making it clear through everything she did in that rehearsal room that she was there to honor someone, and that the person being honored was allowed to take up all the space she wanted. Tina Turner expanded into that space. Her voice filled the room. Her energy, which the music industry had been writing polite eulogies for since the mid-1980s and which had refused, year after year, to cooperate with those eulogies, arrived in that rehearsal room at full force. Ken Ehrlich said later that what he saw in those rehearsals was a baton being passed, not in a ceremonial sense, in a real one. 2 women, from different generations, from different worlds, understanding each other completely across the distance. On February 10, 2008, At the Staples Center in Los Angeles, the 50th Grammy Awards broadcast began. Beyoncé walked onto the stage alone first. She performed the opening of Crazy in Love. Then the lights changed, and Tina Turner walked out. The audience, which included every significant figure in the music industry, rose to its feet. They rose the way people rise when they understand they are in the presence of something that does not come around often. The two women performed Proud Mary together. Tina was 68 years old. She wore heels. She moved across that stage with the complete authority of someone who has never once, in any room, in any year, been less than fully present. She had been performing since she was a teenager in the clubs of St. Louis. She had performed through things that would have ended anyone else. She had performed 30 minutes after being beaten. She had performed with borrowed money and a borrowed name. She had performed in clubs that held 60 people and in stadiums that held 180,000. And on the Grammy stage in February 2008, all of that, every club and every stadium and every borrowed dollar and every broken string and every impossible moment was present in the way she walked. Beyoncé stood beside her and was, by her own later admission, completely in awe. She said it felt like a direct transmission, like being handed something she was now responsible for carrying forward. The performance ended. They held hands. They bowed. The audience kept standing. And then Tina Turner went home to Zurich. She had a house in Küsnacht, near the lake. A quiet house in a quiet city in a country she had chosen because it was nothing like the world she had come from. She had Erwin Bach, the man she had been with for more than 20 years, the man who would give her one of his kidneys when her own failed, the man she would marry in 2013 in the most private ceremony she could arrange. She had the peace of a life that had finally, after everything, arrived somewhere it was allowed to be still. She had not planned on going back to the stage, but something happened in the days and weeks after the Grammys. People recognized her. In the restaurants near her home in Zurich, someone would approach her table. In the restrooms of the hotels she frequented, a stranger would appear beside her at the mirror. On the streets of the city, people stopped her, and they handed her things. Notes written on napkins, notes written on receipts, notes written on the backs of train tickets and grocery lists, and whatever paper was nearest when they saw her and felt something they needed to say. Some of the notes were about her life. They were from people who had survived something, who had held on to the story of a woman who had walked out of a limousine with 36 cents and rebuilt everything, and had used that story as a reason to keep going through their own version of the same thing. Some were about a specific song, a specific moment in their own lives when that song had arrived, on a car radio, in a waiting room, through a wall from a neighbor's apartment, and had done something necessary, had named something that had no other name, had accompanied them through something they could not have gotten through alone. Some of the notes were short, a sentence, sometimes just a few words. Some ran long, the handwriting cramped and urgent, covering every available inch of the paper, spilling around the edges as if the writer had run out of space but not out of things to say. Tina kept every single one. She did not read them once and put them in a drawer. She kept them somewhere she could see them. And slowly, without planning it, a pile formed. It was not a large pile at first. It grew. In 2007, before the Grammys, she had been sitting next to Sophia Loren at a fashion show in Milan. The two women were talking quietly between shows. Tina mentioned, in the way you mention something that has already been decided, that she had been retired for 7 years. Sophia Loren put down whatever she was holding and looked at her directly. "Break over," she said. "People want to see you. Get back to work." Tina had laughed. She appreciated the clarity, but she was not ready. Then the Grammys happened, and the napkins kept coming. After the performance with Beyoncé, after the footage had been broadcast and replayed and discussed, after the music industry had spent several weeks reminding itself that Tina Turner was still Tina Turner, the notes in Zurich came faster. Tina would describe it later in terms that were simple and direct. She said, "People would come up to me everywhere, in restaurants, in the ladies' room, on the street. They would hand her something. They would say something brief or nothing at all and walk away, and she would unfold the paper and read what they had needed her to know. She saved them all. When the pile was big enough, she called her manager. She said, "It's time." The Tina 50th anniversary tour was announced in 2008. It was her first tour in 8 years. It would also be her last. The first show was on October 1st, 2008, in Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City was chosen deliberately. It was near where her professional music career had effectively begun, when a young woman named Anna Mae Bullock had found her way into a band and discovered what her voice could do when it had a room to fill. 50 years had passed between that beginning and this one. She was 68 years old when the tour was announced. She was 69 for most of it. She wore heels for every show. She danced through every show. She gave every show everything she had, the same way she had given everything to the 60-person clubs in the late 1970s, the same way she had given everything to the Maracana in 1988. You give everything, every time, no matter the room, no matter the size of the crowd, no matter what happened before you walked on stage. The tour covered North America and Europe. 37 sold-out shows in North America, earning over $47 million. 47 sold-out shows in Europe, earning over $84 million. More than 1 million people stood in rooms and watched Tina Turner perform. $130 million in total ticket sales. The 9th highest-earning tour in the world in 2009. She was 69 years old. She was outdancing performers half her age on stages across 2 continents. And backstage, in every city, in every arena, people who worked on the tour said the same thing. They said she was the most professional performer they had ever worked with. She arrived prepared. She knew exactly what she wanted. She delivered it exactly as she had promised. And then she went back to her hotel room and rested, because she understood that her body was the instrument, and the instrument required care. In Sheffield, England, on May 5, 2009, she walked onto a stage for the last time. The audience did not know it was the last show. Tina knew. She had decided. She performed for 2 hours. She sang everything. At the end, she walked off stage. She did not look back. She went home to Zurich, to the lake, to Irwin, to the peace she had earned by surviving everything that had tried to take it from her. The pile of napkins and receipts and handwritten notes is still somewhere in that house. Every single one from a stranger who needed to tell her something. Every single one a reason she went back for one final year. 1 million people got to be in a room with Tina Turner because strangers handed pieces of paper to a woman in a Swiss city and wrote down what her music had meant to them. She heard them. She always heard them. That was the thing about Tina Turner that the music industry spent decades trying to quantify and never quite could. The executives could count the records sold and the Grammys won and the tours grossed. They could count the 1 million people who bought tickets in 2008 and 2009. They could not count the napkins. They could not measure what happened in the space between one person handing another person a small piece of paper and saying, "Your life gave me something I needed," and the other person reading it, folding it carefully, and adding it to a pile, and one day picking up the phone and saying, "It's time." Tina Turner passed away on May 24, 2023, in Kuznot, Switzerland. She was 83 years old. In the hours after her death, the notes and the tributes and the messages came from everywhere. From Beyonce, who called her beloved queen. From the dancers who had stood beside her on that Grammy stage and felt the baton pass in real time. From the 1 million people who had been in those arenas in 2008 and 2009 and had understood, even then, that they were inside something that would not come again. And from the strangers. The ones who had handed her napkins in Zurich, the ones who had written in cramped, urgent handwriting about what a song had done for them on a specific night in a specific year when they had needed something to hold on to, the ones who had given her a reason to go back one more time. They left flowers outside the house by the lake. They did not know her. She did not know them, but she had heard them. And that, in the end, is what the pile of napkins meant. Not that the fans needed Tina Turner, but that Tina Turner, even at 68, even retired, even living quietly beside a Swiss lake in the peace she had finally found, still needed them too.